Hello lovies! Welcome to another Sims 4 building time lapse. In today's video, I will be building a seaside restaurant in Sulani, which is the world that comes in the Island Living expansion pack. I just got this pack and so far I am absolutely loving it. The build items are very versatile and the world of Sulani is absolutely gorgeous. Since I just got this pack, I really wanted to try building something in Sulani, but I wasn't sure what type of build that I wanted to go with first. So to help me decide, I put out a poll on Instagram between a seaside restaurant and a tiny beach home. It was super duper close, but the seaside restaurant won by just a few votes. Since so many of you guys voted for the tiny beach home, I'm still planning to do that build as well, so look out for that video in the near future. But since the seaside restaurant won the vote, I decided to start with that one first. I will admit, for this build, I started off completely hating it. Originally, I had wanted to go for a more modern, upscale, resort-style restaurant. But as I started building, I decided I really didn't want to go in that direction. As I was building, I started to think about all the different types of restaurants that I like to frequent when I'm on vacation in a tropical destination. When I'm traveling, I usually like to go to restaurants that have a lot of character and a lot of charm. I love going to lively places with lots of good local food where you can meet lots of new people and make new friends. So I wanted to bring some of that energy and charm into this build while still keeping it a little bit high-end. There were two restaurants that I visited in my travels that really stuck out to me as I was working on this build, and really kind of served as a lot of inspiration for this build as well. The first is a seafood restaurant in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, that I used to go to with my family when I was growing up. It was right on the beach and the interior was just covered in all things nautical, like buoys and fishermen's nets and portraits of sea captains. Just thinking about this restaurant makes my mouth water because they had hands down the best hush puppies I have ever had. If you don't know what hush puppies are, they're like these sweet fried corn fritters and they're absolutely delicious. Anyways, so I took a lot of inspiration for the interior of this build from that restaurant and I put lots of nautical clutter and mounted fish all over the walls. I used that net with all the buoys on it so much. I really wish that there were a few more items like that in the game so that I didn't have to just keep reusing that one item from Cats and Dogs over and over and over again. But I guess I managed to make do without. So as I was saying, I took a lot of inspiration for the interior of this build from that restaurant in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. But for the exterior of this build, I took a lot of inspiration from a hotel bar that I frequented when I was visiting San Pedro, Belize. San Pedro is a little island off the coast and it's part of the country Belize, which is a little country in the Caribbean that's bordered by Mexico at the top and Guatemala at the bottom. It is a lovely, lovely country. I absolutely loved spending time there. There's lots of wildlife, lots of beaches, very sunny, and it was overall just such a welcoming and inviting place to be. I think that's why I immediately thought of San Pedro when I was building in Sulani, because I think that there's just a lot of similarities between the two. Sulani being kind of like an island and Belize being in the tropics. So I definitely immediately thought of that little tiki bar in San Pedro, Belize when I started building this. The hotel had a bar that was overlooking a sweet little pool. It was outside, but it had a thatched roof over it, and it was covered in hanging fairy lights and paper lanterns, and it was very, very cozy and inviting. Even though it was a hotel bar, there were many locals from around the neighborhood that would bring their kids to play in the pool while they were having a drink with their friends at the bar. So I got to meet a lot of amazing people on this trip, and I hung out at this bar pretty much every night, and it was definitely one of the highlights of the trip for sure. So for the exterior of this build, I definitely wanted to take a lot of inspiration from this bar, especially for that rooftop terrace area. I definitely wanted a space where my Sims could come and hang out and have a drink with their friends, maybe listen to a little bit of music and maybe dance a little bit. So I thought that this build definitely needed to have a little rooftop terrace bar area with a thatched roof and some little fairy lights and some greenery and a lot of other elements like a lounging area just to give it a little bit of extra charm and create a nice little environment for my Sims to relax in and hang out and have fun with their friends. Overall, I think that the fusion of those two inspirations from the restaurant in Myrtle Beach and the restaurant and bar in Belize took this build in a completely different direction than I had originally planned, but I'm actually really happy with how it ended up turning out. I guess it's kind of like painting on a canvas. It had to go through an ugly stage before it became a beautiful finished piece of art. Aside from the overall aesthetic, the other major challenge that I had with this build was not being able to use the terrain tool in Sulani. I was kind of bummed that I couldn't change the landscaping at all. I think that adding terrain capabilities to Sulani would be a really nice feature so that you can create sandbars or deep drop-offs in the water. I think that it would make building on the beach a lot more fun, and you could create more realistic landscaping by adding deep coral reefs or little sandbars for your Sims to explore and find seashells and crabs and little fish and that kind of thing. I will say though that I did really enjoy the variety of corals and ocean plants that were available in the Hidden Objects menu. If you're wondering how to open this menu, all you have to do is hit Control-Shift-C on your keyboard and that will open up the cheat bar. Once you have the cheat bar open, you're going to enter a couple of different codes. You want to start by entering bb.showHiddenObjects, and that will show you all of the different buy items that you can get. And then for any of the terrain and world building items, you're going to want to enter the code bb.showLiveEditObjects. Once you've entered all of those codes, if you have the Island Living Pack, then you'll be able to get all of these different corals and underwater objects that you can use for building your little coral reef. I had a lot of fun landscaping the reef area under the lounging deck. I think that it would be so fun to sit out on that deck relaxing with a nice little drink, roasting a marshmallow at the fire pit, and watching the little fish through the glass flooring swimming right under my feet. I also made sure to add a little docking area so that you could pull up with your little sailboat and go and have some dinner before going back out into the ocean for a nice sunset boat ride. For the rest of the landscaping, I kept it pretty simple, just adding some palm trees and a few tropical plants all around the lot just to make it blend in a little bit better with the rest of the world. I also added a lot of those hanging fairy lights all over the rest of the exterior of the building, just so that it kind of tied in with that top rooftop terrace bar area. I wanted it to give that feel where you could just take a nice little walk on the beach right after having dinner at the restaurant. I will make this build available for you guys in the gallery to download and use in your own gameplay. I will leave my origin ID in the description below so that you can have access to this build as well as many of my other builds. I will also leave my social media information in the description as well, so that you guys can stay updated on upcoming build videos and have access to additional content that you won't see here on YouTube, and to just generally connect with me a little bit more. Well, I think that is about it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed this time lapse, and until next time, dag dag!